Managing positive reactions to change. Many of us think that because we get a positive initial reaction to a change, that we have very little to do to actually manage that change process. The assumption is people are with us, they're willingly going forward, and there are going to be no problems. That isn't always the case. I'm going to take you through a positive reaction to change curve and just explain each step at a time what people think and feel and how at various stages you may get some negative reactions and how to manage those reactions. So with those who are generally positive about the change, the first thing that they will experience is what we call uninformed optimism. This is because the change has been sold to them in a very positive way. They only see the upside. Perhaps they've been wanting this change for some time. Perhaps they're impatient for it. Perhaps they've seen the need for it in the past, and they welcome the good news that this change is going to be brought in. The problem is they probably don't have all the information, not all the facts, and in particular, they possibly don't know how this is going to impact them in the future. So out of uninformed optimism, we then move to a stage which is called informed pessimism. And it's at this stage that they begin to more fully understand the scale of the change, the depth of the change, the size of the change, and in particular, what that change is going to mean to them individually. And they will then probably take on board that not all of that change is going to be positive for them. So at this stage, they begin to express their reservations and their doubts. They have negative feelings, and you may be surprised that they come out with these, you having thought that they'd previously bought into the future and now seem to be reluctant to be a part of it. This is quite natural. The next stage is hopeful realism. As you give them more information, as you are more precise with what the change is going to mean and how it's going to be implemented and the timescales, then you are actually creating in them a much more accurate picture of the change and what it's going to mean to them. They then become more hopeful because they're more realistic about what is going to go on in the future and how it will impact them. Out of this hopeful realism comes informed optimism. In other words, they're back to a step now where they're thinking this is actually going to be good. I've gone through the process of thinking it all through, and on the whole, this is good, and it's going to have a positive impact on me and my future. The energy returns, the optimism grows again, and you've got a much more buoyant and enthusiastic atmosphere about the change. That then goes forward into what we call completion and satisfaction. Because as a result of training people to take on the future and having introduced them to that future, that new norm, people then feel committed and engaged to the way of working and then can go forward and operate successfully. So what are the keys for you as a manager at each step of this process? First of all, at the uninformed optimism step, don't oversell the change. Try and be realistic about it. Try not to whip up too much enthusiasm. Try and be precise about the nature of the change. When you get pushback at the informed pessimism piece, be understanding. Answer questions. Reassure people. Make sure that they are feeling better about the change and obviously are wanting to come on board with it. Offer help, advice, support, and access to you at any time. In the hopeful realism piece, go to great lengths to be precise about what's in it for them and why this is actually going to have a positive impact on them. At the informed optimism stage, support them, encourage them, enthuse with them, increase their energy around the future, and really lead with confidence at this point. And then finally, at the completion satisfaction piece, obviously you need to be leading and managing them in the new future, establishing the new norms, and leading the team to be a high-performing team, having gone through actually a lot of the process of forming for a new future, storming in thinking about it, now norming, and going on to performing.